So we are still talking about borderline personality disorder. We're still going to talk about some of the things that they do. And one of the interesting things that borderline personality disorder people do is they have a favorite person. And you might think, what's wrong with having a favorite person? You know, because kids have a favorite toy, favorite this, favorite that. And disclaimer alert, please pause the video and read the disclaimer. These people do this unconsciously. It's like they take a person and they idealize that person. They put that person in a higher stance, and it's almost as if this person becomes sort of like a supernatural being, right? They are this perfect, beautiful human being that can do no wrong. And it becomes problematic because this person doesn't know, first of all, that they are put at such a high pedestal. And there's expectations attached to being a favorite person, because this person becomes sort of your dream person. You know, oh my God, they are so perfect for me. And they think of themselves as one connected to that person. And unfortunately, this person is just a human being like the rest of us, right? They're good and bad, happy and cranky, right? They experience life in the fullest. So when they let this person with borderline personality disorder down, then they become this horrible person, you know. So you go, if you're a favorite person, you go from being this nice, beautiful, perfect, incredible, ideal sort of supernatural human being, and because you're not a supernatural human being, you're just a human being, to being this horrible person, the worst person in the world. And when that happens, then this person with borderline personality disorder starts to be destructive, right? So it's like they start to do things that are hurtful to the person, to themselves, depending on the type of BPD they have, and they become destructive. Like they stonewall, they can rage and be angry at the person and just destroy things or say hurtful things, right? Call you the worst names in the world, and or criticize you. And when I say this, I'm sure you are thinking, if you followed me and you watched the videos, that this is like the anxious ambivalent attachment style. But think about it, anxious ambivalent attachment. This person wants attachment and they don't know how to attach healthy, but they're also afraid of attachment. So it's like this two ideals that causes cognitive dissonance, that causes explosion in a person. So who then can become a favorite person? A favorite person can be anybody, really. Most of the times it can be a teacher when you're working with kids, or even college students. It could be a psychologist, right? They come in and they think, oh, you're my favorite person, you understand me, you're listening to me, because it's almost as if you have room, right? They have this idea that nobody cares about me, and if you give them a little bit of attention, it's like, yeah, you're my favorite person. It could be a lover. Oh my goodness, you're my soulmate, let's merge together, right? It could be a preacher, somebody at church. It could be, sometimes even to the extreme, it can be somebody that they've never met, like a celebrity, somebody they see on TV or IG, on social media, and they take that person and they idealize them. This person becomes the super incredible, supreme being, sort of. And so they idealize this person, as I've already said. They have this unrealistic expectations or ideas about who this person is and how they and that person connect and how the relationship is. And if you think about it, it's really actually unfair, because nobody in life can be your everything. Nobody in life it is even meant to be your everything, because we're all on our own separate journeys doing our own things, and it's lovely when we connect and we have special connection, or deep connection rather, but it's unrealistic to think that a person can be everything. I've seen it sometimes actually in marriages where a wife expects the husband, or the husband expects the wife to be everything. No person can be your everything. That's why you need your own. You need to have your own friends, and the friends that you and your partner have together, your own hobbies, and hobbies that you and your partner have together, your own. You can't be with that person every single time doing every single thing with them, right? So but these people, they obsess, they're constantly thinking about you, if you're the favorite person, what you're doing with who, and they daydream about how the perfect things that could be, that could happen, that are happening between the two of you. So it's obsessive, incessive thinking. That they start, it's obsessive. They think about you constantly. They wonder if you're thinking about them, which is not healthy, right? Because they're thinking about you, they idealize you, they think, oh my God, let's say if they send you something and you respond, it's like, oh my God, she responded. Oh my God, she said this to me. Right? It's this unhealthy, unrealistic way of relating to somebody. And it's unfair because maybe, let's say you are the favorite person and you need space, or they showed you something that you don't like. My partner showed me a video of odors today, and he's like, oh, just relaxes me. And I looked at it and I was like, not my cup of tea. And he just laughed, right? Because he understands that what his cup of cake is not my cup of cake or cup of tea. I found it boring. But for somebody who is, you're the favorite person and they're super attached to, they might feel slighted if you don't like something that they like, because you're supposed to be merging and have this perfect cohesive connection, right? And this might cause them to withdraw, right? You find that you were having a relationship with somebody and you thought it was a perfectly healthy relationship. They start to withdraw, or they start to talk down at you or criticize you or to be cold. And because you are the person who's attached to them healthy, you're like, what's going on? You say to the person, something is wrong. Oh, nothing is wrong, I'm busy. Or they start now to make you think you are being unreasonable or you're doing something weird, right? But then if you believe them and say, okay, so nothing is wrong, it's me, sorry, they then start to feel like, oh, you don't care. So when you think about it, it's a cycle, right? It's like you're this perfect, beautiful person and they build you to be this, and then you do something that they don't like or that they don't think is acceptable, then you deteriorate, you become the worst person in the whole world. And then you being the healthy person, you like, hey, let me check in, what's going on, and they say nothing is wrong, or they become punitive, or they criticize you, or they do things that are damaging to the relationship. And then maybe you withdraw and say, okay, fine. They start to think, oh, actually you care. They build you up. Oh my goodness, look at her. She cared, or he cared, and he did it. And then you go back. So it's a very vicious, unhealthy cycle of relating to a person. These relationships also happens in a way that is it's not like one way of saying, okay, this is it. I come to you. I admire you. You are this incredible supernatural being. It could be also that the person they victimize themselves as well. Oh, look at me, help me, I need your help. And if you're the person who likes to help, or maybe you are in a psychological role, or you're a nurse, or you're a preacher, or you're a teacher, or whatever, those humanitarian roles, you might rush to try and help that person. And then that's dangerous, because then they put themselves in a position of no recovery, right? They don't want to recover because that's the way they relate to you, right? And maybe you might try to say, okay, you're healthy now, let's have a reciprocal healthy relationship. And they don't know how to do that, right? You become the worst person when you try to do that. Or that person, if you are the person who has this favorite person, and maybe this favorite person of yours is is not paying attention to you the way you want to, you might lower yourself down, right? Like withdraw your expectations and needs so that you can get the attention of that person again. So it's unhealthy. It's like you neglect yourself, you self-sacrifice. It's like, oh, please love me, be there for me, hold me, think about me, give me attention, right? And that person, so you give to that person that you idealize and idolize actually, and you don't have your own needs and wants met in life because you put this relationship over everything, over yourself. You feel alive when this relationship or when you have this connection with this favorite person. You have no boundaries, you know, of saying, okay, these are my needs, or this is where I begin and end, this is where you begin and end, this is where we connect, right? So it's just an unhealthy way of connecting. Think about it also, just to make it clearer, is like a vampire way of having a relationship, right? It's like you suck the life of this person. You idealize everything. They're not allowed to be human. They're not allowed to make mistakes. They're not allowed to disappoint you. They're not allowed to not want you around, which is, by the way, a normal way of life. Like in healthy relationships, sometimes you want nothing to do with your partner. Sometimes they want nothing to do with you. It doesn't mean the love is gone. It just means sometimes you just want to be you. But you suck life out of them. It's draining. You put them in this high pedestals, this high expectation that they can't do anything wrong. And it's unfair to the person that you're doing this to. And not only because of the high expectation, but you also think you are the only one. I mean, I shouldn't laugh. You think that you're the only one, right? In a romantic relationship, romantically, maybe that's how you relate with them. You're the only one that's doing that. But healthy people have a certain set of relationships and hobbies that they do with other people. For example, let's say a group of your friends go to dinner and they don't invite you for some reason. Maybe they forget, or maybe that person, or they thought you knew, or whatever, right? You get there, one of your friends is like, oh my goodness, where's such a person? And you notice, you're like, oh, nobody cares about me, or you just feel slighted. Which is a normal reaction. Most people, if you have a group of friends and they go out and they don't tell you, you would feel slighted. But then you decide to cut them off. And the one person who said, hey, but where is this person, comes and say, hey, I noticed you were not there. The food was great, but I think we should go. And you say, I want nothing to do with you, right? And you think, this person doesn't care about me. Nobody cares about me, because you're thinking in your mind, nobody cares about me. But this person cares about you because they noticed you were not there. They made an effort to try and fix the mistake. So instead of you accepting that, okay, maybe those other people are assholes and they didn't invite me, or they don't want me around for whatever reasons. I don't believe in taking responsibility to how people react to you, because we're all going through our own stuff at different times for whatever reasons. But instead of you accepting that the one person that is apologizing and that is saying, hey, you're my friend and I think this was unkind and unnecessary and I want you around, you cut all of them around. Or maybe they apologize, you cut all of them. You can't forgive them because they don't care about you. How can they do? People don't make mistakes to you. People don't learn because you idealize them and you're thinking no. Or you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you're so in love, you're thinking they are the one for me, I'm the only person. And then one day you see them being nice and kind to a coworker, or playing sports and going out with a friend or a family member, and you get slighted. You're thinking, oh, but I thought I was special. I thought I was the only one. How come you're talking to your cousin on the phone for so long? How come you and so-and-so went and played golf for so long? Yeah, I noticed that my partner went to play golf yesterday for 6 hours, and golf take a long time, but he normally goes for 3 hours. So, but if he was my favorite person, I would have like oh my goodness, I went shopping and I went with this person to lunch and came back and I took a shower and I did this and you were not gone and you were not back, right? So it's an unhealthy way of touching. So they feel slighted, then they start to do things that hurts the relationship. Yeah, you were gone for 6 hours. Who did you see? What did you do? Instead of, oh, how was the game? And he had a nice game and he showered, we ate, watched a movie and went to bed, right? But if he was my favorite person, I would have been suspicious and say, yeah, you normally don't play golf that long. How come you were gone double the time, blah, 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 blah. And they also act very desperate to rejection. Again, that anxious, ambivalent way of attaching is that if you break up with them, they can't handle it. They become suicidal. They might even threaten to kill themselves, or they might feel worthless. I'm stupid. I'm worthless. Nobody can ever love me. I can't do this. Because they cannot stand those emotions, they might resort to self-harming just so that they can soothe themselves. Or they might attack you, or objectify you, or do things that are unhealthy and destructive because they cannot withstand the emotions. Shame is also one of the issues that they have, because after you reject them, let's say you become so much. Let's say my partner went playing golf, and when he came back, I was upset. Then it's normally double the time. I didn't just ask him how the game was, and we get into a big fight, and it's not the first time we get into such big fights, and he just says, I can't do it anymore, and then I go crazy on him. I go nuts on him. I do one of these self-destructive things or destructive things that I've just mentioned to further destroy the relationship, and he ends it, and then I go, right? And then after the intense emotions, I will now calm down, and then that's when the shame comes in, right? It's like, oh, I can't believe I wrote this. Oh, I can't believe I said this. So that now they start to feel, that's the depressed part of, the mania was like, yeah, you're the worst person in the world, you must be cheating, da 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 da. And then as the relationship deteriorates, it's just still like those. And then when I come down and accept, okay, the relationship is over, then that's when the shame comes in. It's like, I can't believe I did this, I can't. So shame is part of the ways, or part of this favorite person way of attaching. So light at the end of the tunnel, I don't like to say all these negative things without saying the positive. How do you heal, and how do you become healthier, and how do you get away from this favorite person phenomenon? Well, I would say that number one is realize, first of all, that you have this favorite person. And it's not a healthy way of attaching, because nobody is this supreme, perfect human being. I don't like to be anybody's favorite person, and I have been. But it's just, I just want to be human. Like, when I'm at work, I'm different because I have to be professional. I have to dress in a certain way, and I have to use a certain language, and I have to abide by these certain times and rules. And when I'm at home, I'm different. I am loud and funny. I come from a family that loves to laugh. One of them are snobs. One side of my family are snobs. Another one is funny, crazy, and I fit right in, right? So if you have this ideal of who I am without knowing who I really am, it's really unfortunate, right? So realize that it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to the person that you're doing it to. That's the first one. In DBT, we learn about radical acceptance. I think accepting that this is not fair is the first step to do it. Number two is that you have to realize that you are obsessing about this person. You're thinking about them. You have thoughts, you have dreams, and you have all these things, and try to distract yourself, right? So don't think about them as much as you do. Go do something. Go find something to do, or call somebody else and create hobbies, write, read, do something so that you can forget about that person for a little bit. Number three is that think of this. get away from the prostitute way. And I think about it as it's a prostitute, you know, you self-sacrifice yourself so that you can get rewarded in emotions or in connection, right? So then go away from being a prostitute and seek reciprocal relationships. I know sometimes when it's a psychologist and a client or a teacher and a student, it's hard to have reciprocal relationship, but you can sit down with a person, and whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship or whatever, and think about how the relationship can be mutually beneficial. The relationship can have mutual boundaries. So think about how you and your partner can both give and take, so that you don't self-sacrifice, so that you don't, because normally people with BPT, with it comes to a favorite person, they self-sacrifice, right? And it's a horrible feeling. Like, I remember once, and I was not self-sacrificing, I don't know how I got it. No, I went into this savior mode, I think, and somebody was struggling, and this person would call me every day, hours at a time. I hated it, and it took me probably 2 months to say, hey, this is not gonna work. I can't be having you at me with your issues that much, right? We need to have a mutual friendship. And this person said, yeah, but you're holding space for me. And I said, you volunteered me into holding space. You didn't ask me if that's what I want to do, right? Again, that's the favorite person, idealizing a person. You put people in a position where they didn't ask for, and probably they don't want to be in it. So communicate with your person and figure out how you can have a reciprocal relationship. And sometimes a person might say, yeah, I will hold space for you. But when they say that now I want to get out, don't freak out and say, oh, you want to get out all this space, how are we going to relate now? Talk to them and negotiate and see how their relationship can be mutually beneficial, right? Before is talk to them, tell them, you know, when you are honest with the person and say, hey, if it's safe to do so. Sometimes it's not safe to do so with people, but you can sit down and say, hey, I've made you my favorite person, and this is how I feel, and maybe you can help me, especially when I start to obsess over things, or when I start to overthink things or behave in ways that are destructive to the relationship. And if a person is qualified or is in tune, they can, and they care about the relationship and you, then they can just be like, hey, you know, you can work on it together. Because, you know, it's like mold. The minute you let it breathe and you let it out, it starts to die out, because now you both know what's going on and you both want a healthy relationship, so you both together work for a healthy relationship. But if you don't have a person that you, or that person is not a person that you feel you can trust, then find somebody else, a friend, a mother, a cousin, or even go to a psychologist and tell them that, you know what, I think this person is my favorite person and I kind of need help getting out of it. My last tip is try to use all the skills that I've been giving you in this channel. You know, try to take care of the self, right? Meditate. Don't think about things as black and white. A person cannot just be your favorite person and then the horrible person the next time. Most of us, we have this, we are gray, right? We get sick. Like last week I was sick and miserable and cranky. And if my family and friends thought, oh, she's so cranky, she's the worst person in the whole world, I would have nobody in my life right now. But everybody was like, yeah, she's not feeling well. You know, she's very short, or she's sleeping a lot, or she's not available. But I communicated with them, right? I'm sick. And they paid attention. So be flexible, pay attention to what people are saying, but pay attention to you and learn to communicate what's going on with you. Don't have a black and white way of thinking. Have your own life, have your own hobbies, that have your own things that you do just for you with different types of people. Try to have a balanced life. And remember that healing is a process, is a journey. And if you've fallen or if you fall off the wagon, don't you be punishing yourself too much, because you are doing so many things right and you've learned so many things. And again, don't have that black and white thinking. Wave with yourself, because even you are not yourself, one thing, right? You learn, you have that gray. Alright, so thank you for watching the video. Please share it with somebody, just one person today, and I will see you in the next video. Deuces.